Hey, what's up, everyone? We want to welcome you to another episode of Here's What I Think with your host, Charles Vance, where we discuss everything from current events, economics, politics, and how it all affects business and life. Now, let's get into today's topic. This is a topic I've been wanting to get into for quite some time now. As you guys know, since we started this channel, we said, look, we want to give the audience kind of a balanced perspective on things, and it's something that we still aim to do. But as the show is going on now, I'm quickly realizing that, look, I need to take a position on certain issues and then give people the platform to push back, right? Push back on me, say, hey, look, I disagree with what you're saying. I think what you're saying is wrong. And then give them the freedom to do that. My thing is, I think all of us should be able to express our views with respect. We don't need to insult each other or anything like that. In terms of my political leanings, look, I would consider myself center-right, although there are some views on the left that I agree with, and there are views on the right that I agree with. But I'm more in the center. But there are some things that I kind of side more on the conservative side of things. So that's really where I stand. Given that, I can still judge situations dispassionately without viewing them through the prism on my political leanings and all of that. So what happened? As you guys know, this presidential race is taking a turn for the weird. At least that's how I see it. What happened during the presidential debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump? There was a moment during that debate that has now taken on a life of its own, and was where Donald Trump was speaking about the immigration issue that we currently have in the United States, and he made these infamous comments, which were, they're eating the dogs, the immigrants are eating the cats, they're eating the pets and all of that, right? And at the time he said that, I actually thought it was just a throwaway line. I thought that when he said that at that moment, it was funny, but I didn't think there was anything that was going to grow legs and actually become a story. But it's actually been the complete contrary. Actually, it's now turned into a big story where we have a lot of people discussing it. So what happened? Over the weekend, or I believe on Friday it was, vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance went on CNN to have a sit down with Dana Bash. And they had what seemed to be a 25 to 30 minute conversation. And they were talking about a range of things. They were talking about foreign policy, Kamala Harris' position on various things and all of that. They got into the spirit of the debate. But you could tell that the CNN host wanted to focus on these comments that Donald Trump made during the presidential debate, which was talking about Haitian immigrants eating pets and cats and dogs and all of that. And essentially her position was, look, we don't have any concrete evidence for this, so why is it being said? And he's like, no, look, there have been reports and all of this and all of that. So they're going through their back and forth. And then it gets to a point where J.D. Vance says something that caught my attention. I was like, okay, we have to point this out today and discuss it, where he said that, look, if it means we have to come up with stories to get people's attention, then we're going to say it. So we want to play this exchange for you guys. I want you guys to listen to it in its entirety, and then we're going to come back and really get into the meat and potatoes of today's show. Take a listen to this exchange here on CNN.
Senator, he's asking for you to apologize. Will you?
Dana, first of all, my heart goes out to the Clark family, and I don't bring their son's name up because they've clearly expressed a preference for politicians to not bring their son's name up. I wish them all the best. I can't believe what kind of a tragedy they've experienced, but I'm still going to keep on talking about what the migrants have done to Springfield, Ohio, and what Kamala Harris's open border has done to Springfield, Ohio. And Dana, I think this illustrates the entire contrast between how we're trying to go about this debate and how a lot of the Democrats are trying to go about this debate. They're talking about 12 Proud Boys marching in Springfield, Ohio. They're talking about the frankly fake debunkings of a lot of these stories that are out there. I'm talking to my constituents and I'm hearing terrible things about what's going on in Springfield, and Kamala Harris's open border policies have caused these problems. The hospitals are overwhelmed, Dana. The schools are overwhelmed. The local services are completely overwhelmed. You have people who can't afford housing. Homelessness has gone up. Murders are up by 81% because of what Kamala Harris has allowed to happen to this small community. I'm going to keep on talking about that. Now, of course, we can criticize violence. We can also still talk about the problems that are happening in Springfield, and we should be able to do both those things simultaneously, Dana.
Just once and for all, you again started this in part by saying that, at which Donald Trump repeated on the debate stage, that, and he didn't say anything about the policies that you're talking about. He just said Haitians are eating dogs and cats. Can you affirmatively say now that that is a rumor that has no basis with evidence?
Dana, the evidence is the first-hand account of my constituents who are telling me that this happened. And by the way, I've been trying to talk about the problems in Springfield for months, and the American media ignored it. There was a congressional hearing just last week of angel moms who lost children because Kamala Harris let criminal migrants into this country who then murdered their children. The American media totally ignored this stuff until Donald Trump and I started talking about cat memes. If I have to,
but it
if
wasn't
I have
just
to
a meme,
create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do, Dana, because you guys are completely letting Kamala Harris coast. You had one interview with her. You talk about pushing back against me, Dana. You didn't push back against the fact that she cast the deciding vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which is why a lot of Americans can't afford food and housing.
You just said that you're creating a story.
Public policy.
Sir, you just said that you're creating the story.
What's that, Dana?
You just said that this is a story that you created. So the eating dogs and cats thing is not accurate.
Dana, it comes from firsthand accounts from my constituents.
So you heard what he had to say. I think that what he said there is problematic, right? I'm not 100% sure that's a gaffe or a slip up. I think that he meant what he said. Otherwise, why would he have said it? I want to give you guys my position on certain things here in this election overall. During the last presidential election, I was actually in the United Kingdom. I was visiting my mother there, family actually. And it was a pretty difficult period of time for me because I was sick at the time. I was dealing with malaria, typhoid, and all of that. So I just wanted to be around family at the time. But nevertheless, we were following the presidential election quite closely. And during the day when they were handing over power, I witnessed the riots, Capitol Hill. And as I was watching it, I, like many Americans and many people watching, many spectators watching that, you don't have to be American. I was deeply disturbed at what was going on. I didn't understand it. I didn't like it. I thought that what was happening was wrong. And it looked like they were trying to overthrow an election. I didn't like what I saw. As an American, I didn't like that because there's no excuse for something like that to occur in the United States. It happens in other countries, but in the United States, no. I never forgot that. Never, ever, ever forgot that. Right? I never did. Now, looking at both of these candidates, Donald Trump, who I'm not a fan of, Kamala Harris, I'm not really a fan of hers either. I'm not a supporter of these candidates like some people who are marching and go. I'm not that emotionally invested into it. Come election day, I'm going to cast my vote, and that's it. I'm not going to be like, I'm not emotionally connected to either of these people, to be honest with you. Their policies, there's certain things that I like. There's certain things that I dislike. They're not perfect, either their policies. Really, where all of this boils down for me is, if you get into office, are you going to respect the office? Are you going to go in there and make sure you don't try to change the Constitution and find a way to keep yourself? Listen, I'm a Christian. And one of the reasons why I used to hate discussing politics is because I hated the fact that politicians played political games with people's lives. I hated that. Still do. I remember at a rally where Trump was speaking to a predominantly Christian audience, and he said, Christians, vote for me, you'll never have to vote again. What the hell do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Now, I don't say this to say I don't like Donald Trump or I'm against him. No, if you feel like Donald Trump is the best candidate for you, then by all means, go ahead and vote for him. It's your prerogative. And number two, it's your right. I believe that you should vote for whomever the hell you want to vote for. But for me, those are principal issues. One, when you get into office, are you going to try to change laws to ensure that you stay there? That's a problem. That is a problem. And I didn't forget what happened on election day. I did not forget that. Some people did. I didn't. And that's a very serious issue for me. Now, in terms of immigration, Trump seems to be a little bit more steadfast in solving the problem. Kamala seems to be flip-flopping a little bit. She's talking about some legislator that they put forward that they voted against. That's we're talking about right now, and I don't really hear a real solution coming from her. And this is why I said I'm in the middle. I'm center right. Why? Because the immigration issue that's going on in the United States is a problem. It's a disaster. You know, I grew up in New York City, and what's happening in New York City is an absolute disaster. I followed the stories of people squatting in people's homes. If you're not there for, I think, 1 or 2 months, somebody can move into your house and say, this is your, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. And how we got to this point, I still don't understand. So for me, look, if it was a different candidate running for the Republican ticket, I would probably vote for that person. But given some of Trump's proclivities, he's shown a proclivity to lust after power, and this thing of, oh, you don't have to vote again, and if I lose, then it's right. I don't like that, because now we're undermining the system. Because if that's the case, then why do we need to vote at all? If the system is broken and if it's rigged altogether, then why do we even need to participate in it at all? How do we know that if we're voting, it even matters? That's the problem when you try to undermine a system like that. And if you do that, what's going to happen is you're going to end up in a chaotic democracy or republic, or whatever the hell you want to call it. So that's why I stand on it. And I decided today, you know what? Let me take a position on issues. And now look, obviously there are people that are going to watch this show that disagree with me. I have no problem with that. Absolutely. Just express your views in a respectful way. If you notice, I haven't insulted anyone. There are a lot of creators that talk about politics and they say, oh, these guys on the left are kooks. Those guys, I don't think that's necessary. Number two, people already have that. I don't think you need one more guy doing that. But nevertheless, I do have my viewpoints and I'm open to discussing them with people in a respectful way. So look, these are my thoughts. The question to the audience, what do you think about the analysis I put forward? Where do you land on these issues? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. We catch you guys on the next show.